So we're going to talk about the executive branch. The executive branch is the president of the United States and all of the people that he chooses or she chooses to work with him. The Constitution describes the executive branch in Article 2. You can see there right now, Donald Trump is our president, and he has to follow the things that are listed in the Constitution. You have some really specific language here from the Constitution about what the president is able to do. The president is the commander-in-chief of our Army and Navy. He may appoint what we call a cabinet, where he creates executive departments to help him with different issues. He has the power to give pardons for offenses, except the only offense that he can't pardon is impeachment. He's able to make treaties with other countries. He has to have the Senate to approve those treaties. He gets to appoint things like ambassadors, other ministers, judges of the Supreme Court, and other judges, and the Senate confirms those. The State of the Union address that the president gives every year is something that is actually listed in the Constitution. It says that he has to give that kind of update on how is our country doing. Okay, and the president has to sign any law that Congress has passed. And so president has quite a few powers. They're really about enforcing the laws that Congress passes and kind of being like a figurehead leader of our country who other countries can look to for, international relations kind of things. The president has the power to veto a law. If Congress passes a law that the president doesn't agree with, he does not have to sign it, and that's called the veto. And so the president can prevent law from happening. That's one of the checks and balances. The president runs for office with a partner that's the vice president. Here you can see our vice president is Mike Pence right now. The vice president is supposed to be the helper of the president, but the Constitution doesn't really give a whole lot of information about what the vice president is supposed to do. One thing that he does have the power to do is to be the president of the Senate, and if there's ever a tie in the Senate, the vice president would get to do the tiebreaker vote. The vice president is there to give advice to the president, often is sent on diplomatic relations, going to other countries around the world, helping the president in his job of carrying out laws here, and overall helping the executive branch to function. The president and vice president are also the leaders of their political party, the people that have the similar views that they have. They are, when they are president and vice president, considered to be the leaders of that party. Trump and Pence belong to the Republican Party, so right now they're considered to be the leaders not only of the whole country, but also of the Republican Party. When they wrote the Constitution, they did not give a limit to the number of terms that a president could serve. A president serves for 4 years, is elected for 4 years, and in the original Constitution, they could just keep on being reelected. Okay. However, in a constitutional amendment in 1951, they added in a 2-term limit. So the way that it works now is that a president can only be elected for 2 terms, so 8 possible years, with a reelection there in the middle. Franklin Roosevelt was president for 4 terms in a row, which kind of prompted them to put this new rule into place. And so any president has a limit of 8 being their most longest that they could possibly be in office. Okay, the president is elected not by a popular vote, meaning that it's not the total votes of the country that are added up, but the president is elected by something called the Electoral College. So each state counts their popular vote, and then they have state electors, a certain number of people for that state based on the number of representatives and senators that they have, that then choose who the next president is going to be. So you've probably seen on the news that Michigan has 16 electoral votes. So they look at who in Michigan did the people vote for, and then those 16 votes would go to that person. You need 270 electoral votes in order to win the presidency. So that's how the president is elected. The president has to meet certain qualifications. They have to be a natural born citizen of the United States. They cannot be an immigrant who has become a citizen. They have to be at least 35 years old, and the president is held to a certain level of esteem in our country, and they have to make sure that they're following the laws just like anybody else. Okay. If the president dies, we have this layout for what exactly will happen, and it has happened several times in American history. That the Constitution says that if the president dies, then the vice president is going to become the president. If something happens to the vice president as well, then there's a whole line of succession that was put into place by an act of Congress. So after the vice president is the Speaker of the House, after that is the President pro tempore of the Senate, and then it continues on down the list. So never fear. If something happens to the president, our country does have a plan for what would happen next. So the executive branch is in charge of enforcing the laws. The main job of the president is to carry out the laws that Congress makes, and we elect a new president every 4 years. All right, that's the executive branch in a flash.